Today, on Be Something Wonderful, if you could only do one process, do this one. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. When I was meeting with one of my clients, she said, Tom, nothing really ever seems to work out for me. I'm just sick of the processes. I'm sick of hoping that I can create my own reality, that this really works. And she said, what's the point if it's all an illusion anyway? 3D reality. And just said, I don't know if I believe in this stuff. The jury is still out. And so we talked for a little while. And here's what I want to say, guys. If the jury is still out, the jury's not coming back, because that's what you believe. You can't get over that disbelief. I'm going to hit the point of illusion in a few minutes because I really want to talk about this, because that gets thrown around quite a bit in the metaphysical circles. And I want to talk about what it really means when we say 3D is an illusion, so we don't lose that point. But here's what I said to her, and she goes, if you had one process, Tom, that you would recommend, because I'm really exhausted, what would it be? What can get me to believe this? What can get me back on track? And here's what I said to her. I said, look, you can either look at the 3D world and the outside world and tell that story of the past, how things don't work out, how life's not going well right now. And you make that story your life, right? You make that the story of your life. Or you can create a new powerful story and create a new life. Do you hear this? That's your choice. Because you create it all now in this now moment. I'm going to hit this today and like we never have before. But you have a choice. You can either talk about the past, the dead past, the manifested reality, and things that are even not in your current manifested reality, but in the past, which we know doesn't exist. And you can make that the story of your life. Or you can create a new powerful story and create a new life right now in this moment. So what's it going to be? It really reminded me of this client, this kid. Well, he's not a kid. He was in his late 20s. And good kid. And his mother is a fan of the channel and bought him 2 sessions with me. And he was really skeptical. And so the first time I talked with him, nothing seemed to be going right. I think he was playing drums, loved to play drums, and wanted to get into the music industry. And so, he just said he never seems to have enough money. It never seems to work out. He's in retail. They don't pay a lot. He just couldn't make it work. And so I said, well, let's talk about how you would like things to be. And so we talked about it. He'd like to be working in music. He'd like to, he'd be able to have some extra money to spend so he's not so financially stressed. Following his heart's desire, all of that. So I said, well, just tell that story. I go, just give it 48 hours and tell that story. And that's how we ended it, right? So I didn't hear from him. He had a second session. And I guess several weeks went by. I just didn't hear from him. Then finally, he touched base. And he said, Tom, and so we had the second session. He had to remind me, right? And I said, of course we can have that session. And he said, well, the reason I didn't book another session is I was skeptical enough and nothing happened. That's what he said. Nothing happened in the 48 hours. But, and it even got worse. My girlfriend broke up with me. Things just even got worse for me. But then I just was curious and I started watching your channel. And then I thought, I'm gonna give that idea of the story another shot. And he told them the story. He goes, if anything, it made me feel good. But then sure enough, and I'm not sure how much time elapsed, but he said, I just want to tell you what happened after that. And now things are going better. He goes, and this was just a few weeks ago when I talked with him. He said, my grandparents are traveling for the summer and they need somebody to house sit. So he goes, so I'm dumping my apartment. I'm going to sit there rent free so I can save a little money. And they're even giving me a small stipend. It's not a lot of money, but it really did feel like things were starting to work out for me. He goes, then I even got a part-time job in a music store. So it's not the music industry. He goes, but I just want to say that there really is something to this. And I go, yes, there is. This is what I wanted to talk about today. So let's start, guys. Let's really get into it. And so there is this thing where we talk about the world is an illusion, the 3D reality is an illusion. We wave that around, and we get this, right? That there's an ultimate reality, God, infinite intelligence, the energy behind everything. But really, what do we mean when we say 3D? It's not to discount 3D reality, guys. It's not to discount that what we see as suffering in the world and things that are not going right for others. There's poverty, all of that stuff. I know some of you have written me on that. All of that stuff. No one's saying that's not real at all, right? The idea that 3D is an illusion means this. This is big, a big takeaway here. Nothing is as it seems, right? This is the idea of Maya. This is the idea that you perceive yourself as separate from everything else. That's the illusion. We're not saying that the things you see and everything in it is not real. It's real because why? God's behind it and God's real, right? And if God's the energy behind it, then it's real. So it's not a question of what's real and not real. It's a question about what's real and what's manifested, right? It's energy. So it's just perceiving yourself separate from everything else. That's the illusion. We're not separate. And so, in fact, when you look at 3D reality, we're not separate from that suffering. We're not separate from any of it. We're all one. That should make us care about it even more, as opposed to why should I care about anything if it's an illusion? The only illusion is that we're separate from it. God's behind all of it. Listen to this, guys. The illusion is that you only see and perceive less than 1% of all that is. That's the only illusion. Behind that is everything. It is all that is. You're only perceiving 1%. That's the illusion. It's not saying that that's not real. It's saying that's the manifested, right? Your viewpoint is limited and incomplete. That's the illusion. We only can perceive less than 1% of what all there is, of ultimate reality, right? So it's incomplete. Ultimate reality, God, spirit, love, whatever you want to call it, is the only thing that is real, right? But that doesn't mean what we see or perceive or 3D reality is unreal. It means 3D reality can't exist without this. Without ultimate reality, there is no separate reality. That's what it means. And in fact, what does that mean? There's no separation. This is big. That doesn't mean the universe and 3D world are unreal, but that they don't have an independent reality apart from all that is. Everything is God and everything is real. So start telling that story, right? So the one process, guys, what I told her, the one process, if there was only one process, it would be telling a new story. Just like this guy that I talked to, that his mother bought him the sessions. Once he started that new story, not everything fell on his lap immediately, but things started changing immediately in his life. As he stepped into that new story, that story became his life. And imagine as he continues to tell that story, right? Creation is finished. It's what Neville said. There are infinite views of it. So creation's finished. The story has been told. All things that ever is, was, or ever be already exist. And it's always expanding in every moment. You're creating realities in every moment, right? So we have infinite views of it. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you assuming? Or in other words, what story are you telling? Because the story that you're telling is the view you're going to have of that entire creation. That less than 1%. There's actually only one moment in creation. This is what Bashar says. Only one moment in creation. Everything you experience is the same moment from a different point of view. Look at this, how Neville and Bashar line up here, right? It's only one moment in creation. Creation is finished. Everything you experience is the same moment from a different point of view. There are infinite views of it. Guys, are you getting the power here? Right? You create the past and the future from the here and now. Bashar, do you hear this? Right now, from that now moment, you create it all. What does he mean by that? It means you will perceive what portion of that you're assuming or believing in or wanted to know, want to experience in 3D reality. Right now, and that happens in the now moment, that's reality creation. It's really not creating or manifesting anything. It's with your thoughts, feelings, assumptions, and belief, choosing what portion of all there is that you want to experience right now. But you're creating it at the same time because it's always expanding. Every time you have a new state of being, you're creating new realities. And infinity is always expanding, but it's also finished at the same time. That's the paradox, right? And this is what Neville says, make elsewhere here in the future now. Look how it lines up with Bashar. Neville and Bashar are perfectly lined up here. There are no contradictions. I know one of you were talking about that. There are none here, guys. So let's take this a little further today. As Neville says and others, imagination creates reality, but more than that, imagination is reality. It's that less than 1% that you perceive in the 3D experience, plus that more than 99% that's a felt inner experience. That's ultimate reality. That's total reality, right? When you are remembering the past, you are recreating it in the now moment. I really want to hit this because when you keep telling a story of how things are in your life, which is the past, and not how you would like them to be, which is the now moment, right? Because you're creating it in the now. When you're telling how you want it to be, as if it is, you're creating that right now in the eternal moment, before the light hits your eyes, right? When you're remembering the past, you're recreating it or really creating it in the now moment. Memories are just images. They're imaginal scenes. So when you remember something, you're creating it. You're imagining it. That's an imaginal act of what you can think is a past event, but you're creating that past event right now with that story you're telling. Whew, powerful. To think, this is what Neville says, to think feelingly of the mistakes of the past is to reinfect yourself. That's what he meant. It's to recreate it. That's powerful. So let's hit this a little bit more. And then, of course, Scripture says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind in Romans 12:1. That's what it means. By the story you're telling yourself, by what you're thinking, feeling, and assuming right now. Because that is your story and that's your entire life experience right now. Neville says, by matching your own mental activity to that portion of creation which we desire to experience, we activate it, resurrect it, and give it life. Hear this. All of creation's done. Creation's finished. It's all now. But when we match our mental activity, or in other words, the story we're telling, the thoughts we're thinking, the things we're assuming, to that portion we desire to experience, we activate it, we resurrect it, we give it life. That's what resurrection means. Right? You're giving that what didn't have life, what was not in your reality, now becomes your reality, right? Every thought, feeling, assumption, belief about yourself and the world is your entire life experience right now. That's why it's the one process. If you had to rely on one process, that would be the process because that's your whole life experience. And it not only affects now, it affects what you see, what we call the future and what we call the past, because it's all happening right now. In other words, your story creates the past, present, and future right now. It's the only moment there is. It's the only moment there is. So here you are thinking in linear terms. You're thinking stuck. You're looking at the past as facts and that they're unchangeable. Right? And it moves in this linear direction. You're just going to get more of the unwanted. The future's uncertain and it's fiction. You feel like you're making it up. But what's really happening is you're creating it all right here in the now moment. You are a reality generator sending out ripples of new realities of past, present, and future events right now. Those are new realities of past, present, and future events you're sending out right in this moment now. It's a lake. It's not a river. It's not linear. We've talked about this in other videos, but this really gives it to you today. It's the story right now. There you are now telling that story, sending out those ripples, changing the whole fabric, the whole matrix of reality with your state of being. Wow. All quantum possibilities exist right now. What you create, manifest, and perceive depends on the story you're telling yourself right now. Did I say right now? So all quantum possibilities, guys, exist right now. So your entire life experience is made from what you are thinking and therefore feeling, right? You're only ever feeling what you're thinking, assuming and believing in this now moment. Your story, the pebble you're tossing, right? The pebble you're tossing in that lake of infinity, in that lake of time, all time, that's your story, right? Your story is the pebble you're tossing into the lake of infinity, right? There's no such thing as faking it. It doesn't exist because we create it all right now by the story. Faking it doesn't even make sense, right? If ultimate reality is it, and then everything's created from that, and there are no real illusions, there's only illusion of separation, we're not separated from anything, then there is no faking it because we're part of everything. We're connected with everything that we could ever possibly want to be, do, or have. So how's it faking it? It's just, instead of calling it faking it, you're calling it forth from the unseen into the seen, just like Scripture says, right? You don't have to control your thoughts. Just let those be and think new thoughts of what you want. Don't dig up limiting beliefs. You have to dig up limiting beliefs. Believe what you want to believe now from that new perspective of now. And that, how do you do it? What's the fastest path there? What's the one process that if you're going to pick a process, that the one that Neville said that you could lay aside all other processes, if you did this, your story. You drop new pebbles by telling a new story. So try it. Try it like this client did that finally had his follow-up session. Flip the unwanted story for 48 hours. It might not change in 48 hours like it didn't with this guy, but it did. I promise you, in those 48 hours, things were changing, right? He just couldn't see it back then. But then when he did it, when he believed it, when he finally surrendered to reality, to the new story, it changed, right? I'm always struggling financially, maybe, or I never seem to get a break. Whatever those stories you're telling yourself, change them. Things always go my way. Money and gifts always come at the right time. I'm truly blessed. Do that for 48 hours, and I promise you, reality will change. You will feel it immediately, guys. This new story, if you could only do one process, do this one. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, the story, Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. You can join us there. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Karen. You can visit our website anytime at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Until next time, creators, with great love, with great light, with infinite gratitude, see you soon.